sector. And so therefore there's a very clear distinction of roles. You give the enabling environment, you regulate, you give us the right policies, and we will give you some input into how you can fashion those policies, and we'll be prepared to invest.
Well, that was Omobola Johnson, the ICT Minister. Well, Oluseyi, you heard her. So how is ICT really infrastructure of all infrastructure? Could you explain that?
Let me put it this way. We have taken the first few steps in a long journey. Compared to where we were 12, 13 years ago, we've made significant progress. But we still have a journey ahead of us to make. Many things are still not in place. When we talk about infrastructure, we'll talk about the population size, vis-a-vis the infrastructure in place to support them. She's talking about telecoms, for example. With our population and our size, it is estimated that, for example, we need 60,000 base stations to support us. I know we have less than half of that presently. We have around 28,000 in place. I also know it costs about 20 million naira approximately to roll out a base station. You need to consider power, you need to consider security, you need to consider the various regulatory bodies who impose fees and levies arbitrarily to get the right of ways. The government's protection of the industry generally also come into play. We definitely have a long way to go, but I must admit we have made progress. And then with government being dedicated to their commitment to follow this through, I'm sure we will get there. I'm aware of the roadmap the minister has laid out, and I sincerely believe it can work. If only the government will show the dedication to follow through with the roadmap and the infrastructure policy. And then they also need to bring all the relevant stakeholders together to work together as a team to ensure that at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation for the government, for the people, and even for the investors who are bringing in their money into this business. And the investor will not go and bring in money where you are not sure or you can't see how you can recoup your investment. And that cannot happen where you have high level of insecurity, and then you are spending so much on alternative power, for example. I did a rough calculation on my way, and I realized that each telecom company spent close to 30 billion naira on this way alone. That is money they could use to expand their infrastructure, employ more hands. Those people they employ end up pay tax to the government, create more jobs, and then all the other dependent services downstream will follow suit.
All right. Now, there's this saying that goes that ICT, I mean, considering ICT as a critical national, considered as critical national infrastructure, as in that's where the government should really, focus. So how does that relate to other sectors? Because looking at the plan on the master plan for the infrastructure, building of infrastructure, it is called integrated. They're trying to bring in different sectors together. And just as the minister said, they just have to begin from infrastructure. So are you agreeing that really it is a critical sector to begin with?
I can't agree more with the minister. She's
Why?
Absolutely right. No government or no economy can really develop without the backbone of ICT. ICT is the backbone around which other sectors are hooked onto to survive. Is it the health sector you want to talk about? Is it the commerce? Today, the CBN has implemented check truncation nationwide. It runs on ICT. Now we have a 2-day clearing window for checks to get cleared. I see a future where it will get cleared instantly, maybe within a day. It's very possible. Now look at the health sector. We have telemedicine. A consultant can be anywhere in the part of the world and see a patient anywhere in the world. That's telemedicine, rise on infrastructure. Look at agriculture, for example. In agriculture, now farmers get SMS alerts to tell them when they should go and pick up their fertilizers. That's riding on ICT. Look at security, for example. we all know what security has helped to do, how many crimes security has helped to solve. The abductions, the kidnappings, and all those things. ICT has really helped to solve all those issues. So I really cannot agree more. She is absolutely right. ICT is the backbone around which every government has to take seriously. Even the business of government itself, you need to get a permit, process something from any government agencies. You can go to their website, fill a form, and within a few days or a few hours, you get notification. You don't have to be pushing papers all over the various ministries. So she's absolutely right.
All right. Now, each time you talk about our ICT, a lot of people cast their mind back to telecom, and they're always using the telecom as an example. Oh, this is what is happening in telecom environment. That when you talk about ICT, it's all about telecom. Is it really all about telecom?
Telecom is just the most visible part that most people see. It's not just about telecoms. Let's talk about software as well. Okay, software has the capacity to turn around the economy of this country. I'm aware that presently, as a country, we spend over $1 billion annually importing software. Imagine if we set a plan in place to cut that by half in the next 2-3 years, and that money remains in our economy. You can imagine the number of works or jobs that will be created, people that will be employed. And then those that are employed also pay taxes at the end of the day. Government makes more money at the end of the day. We develop our competencies in those areas. The indigenous experience stays with us, the money stays with us, the government makes money, everybody is happy. So I believe software also has a lot to play. It's not just telecoms, and also the hardware as well. There is nothing wrong in government having a policy for those OEMs, we call them original equipment manufacturers, to set up factories in Nigeria, for example. They can come build their company in Nigeria, they will employ our people. The cost of bringing those equipments in, already fabricated, falls lower, and then it becomes more affordable.
All right. Now, let's look back before the telephone era.
Oh, yeah.
What would the world, or would I say, what would Nigeria, what would it have been like without ICT, really?
We'll be nowhere. It's simply unimaginable.
But we're operating then.
We were operating because that was the world we knew. Now we know it can be better. We know there are endless possibilities with ICT. We know you can get so many things done without having to leave the comfort of your table or your house. And then you transfer money to a vendor somewhere. You have a video conference with a partner in Japan or China. All those are possibilities that ICT has brought to us.
Yeah. Now, since we now know, what are the areas of opportunity? I mean, we're looking at having people invest. We're talking about building infrastructure, and the government has reached out to the private sector to say, oh, just come and invest. What are the areas, what are the opportunity areas in this ICT that people can actually look into, since we have discovered, oh, this is really good for us and we can't just go back to what we were before?
That's right. You need to consider areas that have low barrier for entries, for example. And the one that comes to mind readily, for example, is software. There are so many brilliant minds around in our youths who have nothing to do, but can be encouraged into software, for example. I know there are so many software competitions the government or other agencies organize to identify talents. I also know they have these incubation centers. The government can work with private sector to mentor these people. Many of them have entrepreneurial skills. The Mark Zuckerbergs of this world have enabling environment for the ideas to flourish. If the government can create such enabling environments where people can present their ideas, bring up something new, and then it will work. We also look at other ancillary services. When you employ more people or create, like the telecoms area, for example, other business, go to the computer village, for example, in Ikeja or any other parts in the country, and imagine the volume of transactions that take place there. Those people were previously unemployed youths. Now they found legitimate means of survival. They make legitimate money, and they're able to take care of themselves. It reduces crime rates, for example. All those are avenues that government needs to look into and then explore to ensure that generally the quality of life for average Nigerian increases. We have a greater sense of security, and then government business runs faster, like I said, and they will do well to see the bigger picture.